Hello and welcome. I'm Bimbo Oluyede. Tonight, Pro-Biafra protesters block major highway leading to Onitsha Bridge. Travelers stranded for over 8 hours. More trouble for former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Dasuki as DSS picks him up again. Minister of State for Petroleum says marketers will be paid next week. Says there's enough fuel for every Nigerian. And Indonesian officials say Air Asia plane crash was due to faulty equipment.
On business news, the National Assembly approves over 574 billion naira for the 2015 supplementary budget.
And on sports news tonight, Super Sand Eagles camp opens tomorrow in Badagry ahead of the 2015 edition of Copa Lagos.
We begin in Anambra State, where the Onitsha end of the Niger Bridge was blocked by pro-Biafra protesters for over 8 hours today. The protesters, numbering over 100, took over the entire road, forcing travelers and motorists to remain on one spot while the protest held. According to an eyewitness, the protesters, who were agitating for the release of their leader, Kanu, have shown no sign of ending the siege. Though military officials are reported to be at the scene, they have allegedly made no attempt to disperse the crowd, saying their presence is merely to ensure the protest does not become violent.
Hundreds of protesters who say they want the actualization of the state of Biafra take over the highway leading to the commercial city of Onitsha. For them, their request is simple: release Nnamdi Kanu, who they say is one of their leaders. Mr. Kanu is currently being tried for treasonable offences by a magistrate court in Abuja.
We are not happy. We have determined to stay here for more than 3 days until they release our director, Nnamdi Kanu, the person they are holding hostage by DSS.
These passengers, among them the channel's television crew, have been in this traffic gridlock for over 8 hours. No one is able to move from the spot. Some of the angry motorists and travelers have this to say.
I got here around some few minutes to 12. Now it is 6 p.m. It has been very hectic. No going forward, no going back.
The police commissioner in Anambra State is worried about the situation. But for now, he says the strategy of the police is not to allow the protest to degenerate. He speaks to us on telephone.
They are there in about 4,000 to 5,000 in number. So what the security agencies have done since in the morning is to try to control them in a manner that they don't block the way. But because of their large number, members of the public were apprehensive, and many of them abandoned their vehicles on the highway, jam-packing the highway. What we are trying to do now is that because the owners of these vehicles have left the vehicles unattended to, we are trying to go and tow the vehicles off the road so that the express can be open for road users to continue to use the road. That is the position as of now.
These people may be taking the law into their hands. The option for security operatives is to stop this protest from spreading to the point where it becomes uncontrollable.
Meanwhile, the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the director of Radio Biafra, has suffered another setback at the Wuse Magistrate Court in Abuja due to the absence of the judge. Counsel to the accused person, Mr. Dim Udebwani, told journalists that the court registrar confirmed that the magistrate is bereaved. Consequently, he would not be able to proceed with the ruling on the application filed by the prosecutor, the Department of State Service, to transfer the case to the Federal High Court. Mr. Kanu is standing trial on a 3-count charge of criminal conspiracy, intimidation, and belonging to an unlawful society, to which he has pleaded not guilty. There are indications that men of the Department of State Service, DSS, may have picked up the former National Security Advisor, Colonel Sambo Dasuki, and taken him to their office in Abuja. The former NSA recently denied ever receiving any invitation to appear before an investigative panel on the procurement of hardware and ammunition for the armed forces. The former NSA, who has been under house arrest for some time, recently approached an Abuja High Court seeking an enforcement of his fundamental human rights to dignity and security of his life. This followed the refusal of DSS operatives to allow him travel abroad for medical treatment after a court had granted his request to do so. The former governor of Sokoto State, Attahiru Bafawara, has been picked up by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. He's been questioned for his alleged role in transferring money from the office of the National Security Advisor, Sambo Dasuki, between December 2014 and March 2015. This is coming just as the former Minister of State for Finance, Bashiru Yuguda, is spending his second day in the EFCC's custody. Ambassador Yuguda is being quizzed for allegedly receiving suspicious payments from the office of the former NSA, who is being investigated over a $2 billion arms deal. Some of the monies allegedly traced to Ambassador Yuguda include 1.2 billion naira paid to him for unclear reasons. He's alleged to have also received 775 million naira from the Office of the Accountant General and another 1.275 billion naira from the Stallion Group. The EFCC also says it has arrested the former chairman of Dar Communications, Chief Raymond Dokpesi. He was picked up in Abuja at about noon today. He was accompanied to the office of the EFCC by his son, Raymond Dokpesi Jr. Head of media at the EFCC, Wilson Owujaren, told Channels Television that Chief Dokpesi was arrested in connection with monies disbursed from the office of the former National Security Advisor, Colonel Sambo Dasuki. He says there is no explanation for the use of the money, and it is pathetic that the office of the National Security Advisor was used, according to him, as a warehouse to dish out money to people. He goes on to say, quote, "But very worrisome is that this hard-earned money is taken from the coffers of the federal government," end of quote. When contacted, Chief Mike Ozekome, who serves as lawyer to Chief Dokpesi, says it is a return to an authoritarian regime, as only last week Dar Communications Holdings, not Chief Dokpesi, was given to the company by the office of the former National Security Advisor, and that tax payment receipts and other relevant documents be supplied to the EFCC. He says as far as he knows, no contract was gotten from the office of the National Security Advisor, but he sent a lawyer from his office, Mr. Justin Omogbeme. According to Mike Ozekome, quote, "I do not regard this as an arrest. If you are invited by the EFCC, that's not the same thing as an arrest. We got this information through a mere phone call, and as a well-respected and obedient nationalist, Chief Dokpesi decided to go and answer to the invitation," end of quote. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has condemned the arrest of Chief Raymond Dokpesi and others, who they describe as opposition elements to the APC-led federal government. The party also claims that it has received information that more notable PDP leaders have been listed for arrest over unproven allegations, pursuant to the plot by the APC to cow and silence opposition in the country. PDP's National Publicity Secretary, Olisa Metu, in a statement, said the military style of pronouncement of guilt on Chief Dokpesi before any fair hearing betrays the fact that he is a victim of political persecution and mob trial by the APC-led federal government because of his association with the PDP. The Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has dismissed claims that it set aside 2.7 billion naira as severance pay for its commissioners. The chairman of the commission, Dr. Sam Amadi, refuted the claims when he appeared before the House of Representatives Committee on Power, investigating the alleged plan by the Commission to make the payment. Our correspondent, Lanre Lasisi, reports.
Representatives of regulatory agencies, electricity distribution companies, and power generating companies were all in attendance. It's an investigation into the country's electricity sector. The chairman of the House Committee on Power listed some of the objectives of the hearing.
Today's hearing is intended to afford power sector stakeholders an opportunity to contribute to a growing pool of knowledge on how to move NEC forward by properly positioning it to discharge its regulatory function with utmost efficiency and effectiveness. It is hoped that your unique insights will enable this committee assess the regulatory efficiency of NEC and to determine how best to move it from where it currently is to where it ought to be.
The Deputy Speaker, declaring the public investigation open, said there is an urgent need to address a lot of issues in the sector.
The sector has enjoyed substantial government investment over the decades. In fact, from 1999 to date, the federal government has spent an astonishing 2.7 trillion naira in the sector, and yet certain challenges persist.
The first issue the committee focused on was on an alleged plan to pay 2.7 billion naira as severance package for the chairman and 7 commissioners of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. The chairman of the commission addressed the allegation.
There's no plan by NEC commissioners to pay 2.6 billion. It's actually libelous, and we intend to take it out with the newspaper, but that's not true. So I would like to make that clear. No plans to pay 2.7 or any money. So the impression being created by the reporters is that there's some plan to pay. I will also show, sir, that what has happened is that NEC made provision in line with the Pension Act for pension and gratuity for e-staff as required by Pension Reform, Pension Commission and the Pension Act.
This, however, did not stop the questions.
As chairman and the commissioners, how much are you paid in terms of salaries in a month? What is your take-home pay? Then what is supposed to be your severance? In naira terms, not just to say 300%, 200%, Nigerians will not know. So let us know, so that we know whether that report is false or whether it is true.
I don't feel that there's any value reading figures because I'm impeding on the privilege of staff, not just commissioners, but also staff. The document is in public domain. It's actually in your possession.
The committee also took the chairman up on the commission's decision to review its own emoluments. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, also made a brief appearance before the committee. The hearing is expected to continue on Wednesday. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, Kogi governorship contest appears to be heating up as James Faleke takes APC to court. Do stay with us.